This is my third time living in Korea. My first time, I was 5, and I stayed until I was 7 or 8. And then I came back when I was 10, and I stayed until I was 12. And then I came back again when I was 20, 26 now, 25, 23, I think, when I first came. Yeah, I was 23. And that was this time when I lived up north, like an hour and a half at the army base there. Both my parents were in the army, and I was born in Germany, and we moved through Europe, the United States, and Asia, and then back to the United States, and then back to Asia, and then back to the United States, and then I went to school in the United States and studied abroad in Spain, and then I went back to the United States and came back to Korea. When you're an army brat in Korea, you don't really leave the base that much. Like, your school's there, it's safe. You just you live on the base, your parents work on the base, you go to school on the base, so you just stay on the base. You go off base for like field trips. It's like, whoa, I'm going off base. It's like a really big deal. And so, but when I did leave, I just remember feeling so happy to be in the place that I was. I don't really know if I was aware that I was in a foreign setting, because I'd always lived in a foreign setting. But I loved Korean food. I loved Korean people. I loved playing with my friends who were mostly Korean. And I loved being in the city. There was always something interesting to look at, like fast cars, or I was a crazy kid, and don't get me, it was a dream come true. There were so many toys in the toy market, and I was just like going crazy. But I don't really think it changed in my mind. If I look at the mental images I have from when I was like 5 and 7 to 10 and 12 and to now, I would say it still looks the same. I came with the military. After university with ROTC, you commission as an officer, and then you owe the military essentially the same amount of time that they gave you for university. And I knew that I needed to dual track my careers. I needed to, like, obviously fulfill my commitment to the military, serve my country, which I was excited about. But at the same time, I needed to, like, focus on what was going to happen afterwards. And I looked at all the options of places I could go, and I knew that Seoul was the only place I could have that's like a fashion capital, if you will, and also do my job. First job, I was very, very, very fortunate. My boss, as soon as he met me during my meeting, my in-brief is what they call it, he just asked me what my hobbies were, and I was a little afraid of telling him, one, that I was gay, and two, that I was into fashion. But for some reason, he kind of picked up on it, because he had seen me dress outside of my uniform as well. And so he just kind of dropped a little hint. He was like, so do you know there's still fashion week here? And I was like, and when he tells me the story, he always goes back to how my face just lit up when he said that. And so at that point, he kind of realized, okay, this is the kind of guy that will probably be wanting to do a lot of those things. And so as long as I got my work done, I was able to basically come to Seoul at any time that I needed to. It's actually been a gradual process. So in the beginning, I would say no one knew, but they would see me in my normal clothes. They would always take note of it, and it was always really weird because no one else would dress like that. It's a bunch of army guys, and some of them are not from the most, I guess, progressive or fashionable places in America. So it was always very shocking for them. And in the beginning, I got a lot of, or I guess I could say I had a hard time in the beginning. Not only because my hair is extremely long for military regulation. It fits into the regulation, but just barely. But also just seeing me seeing me out of uniform just made them uncomfortable. And then the fact that I was also openly gay and comfortable with myself and wasn't making a big deal out of it also made them a little uncomfortable. And there was a little bit of hardship about that in the beginning. But for me, I just continued to be me, and sooner or later they had to change their perception, and it got a lot easier after a while. I started with fashion illustration as a hobby, just like any other kid that loves fashion in their parents' basement, sketching, watching Project Runway and America's Next Top Model all the time. And also being in the closet at the time, or unsure at the time, and coming from a very, very, very traditional Christian family. And it definitely, it was tough. I mean, I remember when I came out of the I was telling my parents I wanted to be a designer, I want to be the fashion designer. Then my big strong dad with his only son was like, I want to be a fashion designer. And he's just like, oh, okay, I thought you wanted to be something else. But yeah, and so there was absolutely no support. I remember when I got that internship offer for New York, and I was like, wow, I'm 14, I can go work in New York as an intern now, just off of my work, not even like a real connection with anyone, just they're impressed with what I'm doing at that age. And then my parents just said no. They just told me no. So I actually didn't end up going. And then I remember I wanted to go to fashion school in New York. My parents were just like, not happening. We're not paying for that. So that's actually why I ended up going to ROTC and joining the military. And then I don't actually talk to my parents for differences on the spiritual legality of being gay, if you will. And so yeah, it was tough, but I'm in a place now where I'm separated and focusing on myself, and I think what my purpose is and why God put me here. I still think God loves me as a gay man. So working as a designer in Korea, because I haven't in the United States I haven't really designed necessarily. I do most of my business in the United States, but I would imagine working in Korea is a lot easier because of the amount of resources you have at the cost that you have them. Like having Dongdaemun Market so close to the center of the city is an amazing resource for designers. All of the pattern makers that I've worked with, they're like right in Dongdaemun, like maybe a 3-minute walk from the market. So it's like I can go to the market, I can grab my materials, and I can go to them with my sketches and my patterns and my designs, and then basically they can assemble everything, and the timing is extremely good. It's so fast. They can make things just like that. It's difficult because I'm in the military. So the first thing is you have to have a business license to do literally anything here. Either you want to show at Seoul Fashion Week, that's your own not sponsored show, or if you want to open a store or anything, you have to have a business license for that, which is understandable. You have to pay taxes. So during our time looking for a business license, I realized I didn't have the right visa because I'm in the military and I can't technically change my visa. So having like visa difficulties, that was the first thing. So, and then we were looking for different like companies that could maybe sponsor a visa, but then at the same time, it just would change the name, and they would have to have it registered under a different name, and then the brand wouldn't get enough credit, and then it would just be complicated. We would have to work with that person all the time because it would be on their taxes technically. So it was like, okay, no. So then I was like, okay, let's try to do this on my own. And then when I did my research, I realized you have to have like more than 6 figures, up to 7 figures, like saved into a bank account, so that when you register for that specific business visa, you have to like have that to show in your bank balance. And I was like, oh my God, how can an emerging designer like do that? You know, I don't know any designers that like any emerging designers that have like $1 million just like in their account ready to just show someone. So that was a very hard part. And so yeah, and then I decided, okay, well, I'll get my business license in the United States, and I'll just go from there. But then when I met the people from Soul Design, I was like, okay, cool. Like they're interested. They say that they're like, no, you're gonna be in DDP next season. I'm like, okay, great, let's do this. And then everything kind of fell apart at the end. They're very supportive of the fashion community here, very much so. But only like if you're Korean, if you have the right sort of like ID card or visa or business license that fits what they're going for. And if you're Korean, it's easy. Like I think business license is like $10 at any post office, whereas as a foreigner you have to have so much more. And it's a way. I think it's a way to help push the Korean style and Korea as a fashion capital more into the international scene. And I think what they're probably thinking is if you allow too much of a foreign influence, it's going to dilute what makes Korea great, I guess, in their minds. They're not used to having foreign designers who are in the military coming to Korea with a specific visa trying to do business here. It's just not common. Or it's not common for a foreigner to come here and not like teach or do something. And there's just not a lot of foreigners coming to Korea for something like that. And I think, I mean, they come and then they do those things. There's a lot of amazing foreign creators here that I love to work with. But I think the government's not recognizing that as an actual community that needs to maybe have some sort of help when it comes to entering into the marketplace. I think that's probably why it causes a problem. I think Asia in general, and then we'll zoom into Korea, has a certain level of being isolated, which is a good thing, I think, for cultural preservation. And so I would say in Korea, now zooming in, they're always reaching out for inspiration for different things, culturally, even outside of the fashion industry, music, have people act and things like that. They're always reaching for something outside of Korea for inspiration, but then when it comes here, it's always fused with the essence of Korean culture, to be Korean. Because you can live in Korea your whole life, you know, as a foreigner, you know, be from Germany or, you know, the United States or something, and still not be at that level. Which is I didn't even realize that that's it. There's just a bit of uniqueness in being Korean to other Koreans living in Korea. Like I know a few people that have lived here their whole lives. Like I met one doctor who his dad was here, his great grandfather came here as a missionary when like 1800 something, and like still he's like Korean, but like not that thing. He doesn't have that thing yet because it's an ethnic thing that that can't be replaced or copied. And so yeah, I think it's interesting fitting into this place. As an army guy, I would have a lot of negative perception about me, which is why I kept it under wraps for so long. And then as a gay man, like if that's also mixed. I think when Koreans see me, they see a black guy, and then all of their social constructs of what's right and what's wrong kind of like fade away, and then just kind of like receive information. So for example, if I'm holding hands with Kuro, my husband, and we're just walking down the street, like I don't think there's going to be a lot of like, oh my god, that's so horrible. But if we were Korean, I feel like they'd be like, oh my god, what the hell are you doing? You know? I think when you're a foreigner, you have a little bit of leeway with the rules, I guess, the rules that kind of keep society in Korea together.